All right, friends, welcome to Coach's Corner, the best part of the stream where you'll always learn something good. And now we're going to talk about something a little bit more, I don't know, controversial, something a little bit more fun, something that people take too much credence into. They rely too much on rankings and all that other stuff through Warcraft logs or whatever websites you guys use. So we're going to talk about rankings and why essentially, what goes into rankings, why you really have to read into them as to, why somebody's ranking or why you're not ranking it. And there's, a plethora of reasons why that happens. But I'm going to give you some examples here, some extreme examples as to, why your rankings don't matter. And I'll start off by telling you guys, most of you, no offense, you will never be rank 1 players. I mean that in the nicest possible ways. You will never, ever, ever be rank 1. And there's good reason for this. It's because a lot of those top ranks are cheesed. They're cheesed beyond belief. It's people doing the fight differently, incorrectly, whatever, in order to get those ranks. And some guilds, they push it really, 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 really far to the point where they'll be wiping multiple times until somebody gets really good RNG and really good rankings that way. So, well, thanks. Don't worry, guys. Prove me wrong, kids. Prove me wrong. Get the highest ranks you can. So, to start off, we're going to take a look at some logs here. Some of them might be my guild's rankings. Let me go back here for a second, and one sec here. Let me pull up my own guild's logs. All right. So again, we're going to be using this little log website, Warcraft Logs, which what everybody likes to use here. So I'll put up Tuesday's rankings or our logs here. That's Manaroth. Here's the rankings page. What does it tell you? And I'll sort of give you a quick rundown of how these rankings work. So this is the percentile of your rankings, whether it be damage or healing or whatever. It's a little bit more weighted now, and this is great because again, it says here it's a weighted DPS is a metric that attempts to reduce the effects of AoE padding. Right, people like to pad a lot. This sort of reduces that. That being said, let's take a look at damage here. So where does any of this really matter? Hey, guess what? Sparty ranked in the 72nd percentile. Out of 1,900 paladins, I ranked 500th, roughly, in terms of DPS. I did 4,000 DPS. Yes! I once ranked 3rd in the world on DPS on Heroic Garage, which was the tougher encounter. Yay! DPS paladin as holy. No. You can see here our monk, Karnik, he did 20,000 damage with his little fist weaving thing, and 78th out of 843. Now, where should your rankings generally be? In general, your rankings, what you should be striving for is the purple rankings. Purple rankings, the 75th and higher percentiles, that's good, right? I mean, if you're doing the mechanics right, and you're staying alive, and, your guild's killing stuff, strive to be in the 75th and higher percentiles. If you're super, super, super low, there's probably things you can work on. That being said, this rank takes into account all item levels. So let's say you are let's pull up Iron Reaver here. Let's say you're a 720 Warlock and you're ranking somewhere in the greens, the blues, the grays. Well, guess what? You're being compared to a Warlock that is 744 item level. So what you do want to look at as well is the item level right here on the right side, and then the bracket. So that bracket, and this sort of puts you into your a fair group. Let me load up the Zeros to Heroes logs in a second. So I'll give you guys an example here with Zeros to Heroes, which is our stream community guild. Let's see how they're doing. Okay, so here are their rankings. Let's pull up Elliot Markley from Friday's run. There was some wipes here. So Iron Reaver. Let's see how they did in terms of rankings. So a lot of them in the greens and blues and whatever, but remember, these guys are being ranked against people that are all item levels. That being said, how are they doing relative to people that are the same item level as them? We're roughly about the same here. So you can see Admatha here, he's 71st percentile compared to all paladins doing Mythic Iron Reaver, compared to paladins that are 736 to 738 item level. He didn't do so hot. But why? There's always reasons why. And a number of factors go into these rankings, which we'll touch on in a second. You take a look at these guys, in terms of overall, they're pretty solid. And partly that goes to their item level, right? So here, Galvin, he was 54th percentile, and 50th percentile is average, right? You always want to be above average when you're DPSing or healing or whatever. And part of that is, your DPS. So your item level, he's 736. Compared to other 736, 738 warriors, he didn't do so hot. And why? Well, we'll take a look at that. Part of what goes into DPS rankings is the actual fight duration. So on a fight like Mythic Iron Reaver, my guild killed it in 1 minute 42 seconds. Partly due to, thank you for subbing out, and partly due to item level itself. These guys, they had a 3 or close to a 4 minute kill. And like Roshi says, 70th percentile means you beat out 75% of the players based on that class and spec, right? You're not comparing Destruction Warlocks to Affliction Warlocks. You're comparing Destruction Warlocks with Destruction Warlocks. And then if you go into the item level bracket on the right side, you're covering Destruction Warlocks or Ret Paladins or whatever of that item level bracket, okay, of that same spec. So Fury Warrior, Arms Warrior, they're different little brackets there. Does that account for the amount of damage and or time that someone is actually still up doing DPS? If someone does Great Burst and dies quickly to mechanics, the DPS stats are useless. Yes, there's so many factors involved in DPS. And we'll take a look. So part of it deals with how quickly you can kill an encounter. So you guys know when a fight like Iron Reaver here, you hero at the start, use your rings, use your pre-pots, all your cooldowns proc, everything procs, right? So if you can blow up Iron Reaver really, really quickly, your DPS, your rankings will be very, very much inflated. Right? They'll be super, super inflated. So when you guys look up, let's say, you're looking for looking up different boss fights, and you want to look at what is this top guy, doing. Don't ever look at the top players, because those ranks are usually cheese. And I'll show you guys how in a second. So you look at players that are hitting, the 97th percentiles, 96, 95, like those solid players, like the top 100 ranks, that's probably a good measure of somebody doing something right. And I'll show you guys here. Here's a really good log. So why is Zeros to Heroes ranking so low? Well, let's take a look. They went through multiple phases, right? They went through a ground phase and an air phase and then a ground phase again, right? So I can show you guys really quickly here. Damage taken. I just sort of show you where the poundings are, right? So they killed it, right when he landed, looks like. So they went pounding, pounding, and then it killed it shortly after. I think this was, this must have been an early one there. Their fight was a lot longer. If I look at, let's take a look at how they did just during heroism time, right? Their DPS is much higher, right? Let's take a look at damage done. So they're pushing 200,000 DPS, 100,000 DPS, 130s, right? Those are some really, really solid numbers. But that is during the initial 40 seconds of heroism time, plus their heroism was a couple seconds late here, 2 seconds too late. If you reset the entire encounter, well, then they're doing 80,000, 85,000. And you guys see why those numbers are so much lower? If you have, 1 million damage done, spread over 5 minutes, your DPS will be X amount, right? It'll be lower. But if you truncate that damage into a 1 minute period, then it's going to be super, super high. So let's take a look at, how many healers they brought. Well, they brought 1, 2, 3, 4 healers. Well, with 4 healers, it means you have, 4 healers. Sorry, better way to word that. With my guild here, we brought how many healers? We brought 2 healers, Sparty and Brandhista. We 2-healed that encounter, which means we were able to bring 2 more DPS, which means we were able to more efficiently kill the boss, which meant a shorter kill time. In addition, we did have a couple buyers here, so we had Kargita and Catmage, which, they're not, our guildies. If I had 2 more guys, our kill time would have been something like 120, 130, and we would have had much higher DPS. Okay, so part of it is your composition. The more healers you have, the less DPS you have. The less DPS you have, well, then the longer the kill time is going to be. Here, I want to show you guys. Yeah, 4 healers. Thanks. Just 1 second, Nivy. I want to show you guys this rank here, and take a look at this. So this is one of the highest ranked parses in the world. Maybe you guys can tell me why. Here's a log for you guys. So these guys are all ranking 100 percentile. Like this is top ranks, 99th, 99th, 90th percentile. You can see the fight duration of Mythic Iron Reaver was only 21 seconds. They still have 19 seconds of heroism. Honestly, they could have popped heroism like half a second earlier, a split second earlier. So look at their numbers. Their numbers in this 20-second period. They're doing 700,000 DPS, 600,000 DPS, right? It's not because they're all Asian. No, this is not like, no, this is not a racial bonus to doing more damage. This is because they just had a ton of arcane mages, which have great bursts, especially during heroism time. You know how many healers they brought? Let's take a look. How many healers did they bring? Oh shit, 0. Like, you see? You see where rankings are skewed? Unless you're in one of these guilds that are going to be, you know, bringing no healers and 1 tank here, and they even brought a friggin' fire mage, not sure why. But this is why the rankings don't really matter that much. Okay? In terms of, you know, other bosses as well here, let's take a look at another one I had prepared for you guys. This, again, is Mythic Iron Reaver. So this guild killed it in roughly about 40 seconds. What is this? 37 seconds. Same thing, you know, really high DPS. If my guild was able to kill it, yeah, so this is our ranking here. Let's say we did there. So again, pushing 200,000 to 300,000 damage. Arcane mages are amazing, right? This log here as well, similar kind of numbers, 200, 300,000. And here, again, how many healers did they bring? Oops, sorry, summary. They, again, brought no healers, they brought 1 tank, which means they used good cooldowns, and not bringing 2 healers means they brought 2 more DPS and they were able to kill it. And you take a look at, you know, their item level is really high as well. There's also always little factors as to why they're ranking really high and why you guys are not. Let's see. Yeah, every spec, yeah, exactly. I mean, those numbers are really, really skewed. In terms of, you know, other damage here, what other logs did I prepared for you guys? You know, fights like Hellfire Assault. Do I have a Hellfire Assault one ready to go for you guys? Potentially. No, that's okay. Here, I want to show you guys this one. So this is, yeah. Okay, so here is a Hellfire Assault one, and you guys know Hellfire Assault. Basically, it means some people, you know, with Hellfire Assault, it's the same duration every single time, pretty much, right? It's roughly what 7 minutes, whatever, something like that. To kill all the things, because you just bring the crates over. Now, what did they do here to rank? How did they rank on this fight? I'll tell you what they did. They had some people do no DPS, like very, very little damage. What did they do here? Yeah, some Dragoon damage, a little bit of damage here. But for the most part, they had this guy, this Frost DK, just Howling Blast all the Dragoons. Picked up all the Dragoons, Howling Blast them all day long, and they were totally fine. Whereas other people would, you know, and again, look at the damage here, the breakdowns. They didn't use some of their players, right? You look at the Boom King here, you look at the Rogue, pretty much didn't do anything, didn't touch the Dragoons, and this is where that sort of, that padding, that cheesing shows up, right? This one didn't attack any of the main targets that much. It was just straight up Dragoon damage, and other guys wouldn't do anything. In the same sense, that's what we did 1 week, where we said, hey, half the raid, you guys do nothing. And the other half, well, you guys get to DPS, and then therefore you guys will have the higher ranks this week. So again, it's those kind of strats that are not really conventional, and that's why these guys are getting such high ranks. Back to the Mage Parse. Yeah, so this is the Mage Parse. It's all on Warcraft logs if you want to take a look, right? In terms of rankings. Yeah, so again, rankings don't mean a ton, but there's other factors. Again, kill time, you know, a little bit of RNG, the composition of the raid, those are the bigger factors as to why their ranks are so high. Yeah, you know what? If your ranks are super, super low on some encounters, maybe you're not mashing your buttons enough, right? That's what it comes down to. And again, it always depends on the encounter, how you're doing it. For example, another fight is Cromrock. a group here. So why would you rank on Kramok? How would you rank on Kramok? Well, where could you get a big burst damage? If, for example, you save your cooldowns for the hand phase, let's say you save your pots and your big blade storms, all that fun stuff for the hands, then your damage will be much higher relative to everybody else. However, if you bring 3 warriors that have really fantastic AoE, and you're all able to kill the grasping hands or the dragging hands really, really quickly, there is less damage to go out for each individual player. So, again, another example is, if let's say there's 100 damage that you need to do to kill these hands, each hand, let's say 10 hands has 10 HP, and you are the only warrior, let's say Adoniston is the only warrior to break all of these hands out, he's going to do a lot more damage because he's the one assigned or focusing those hands down. So his damage will be a lot higher. However, if you bring 3 warriors to do the job of 1 warrior, well, the damage can be split off. So each warrior will be doing, 33 damage roughly. Let's see, take a look at here. How did they do? Dragging Hand, 7.3 mil, 5.87. Let's take a look at exactly damage done to Dragging Hands. And again, you can see here, these guys blew up the hands the most. You take away Thaskor's and Galvin, maybe Kalraz's damage and Ryoko's, then Adoniston would have had a much higher rank because his DPS would have been that much higher. So, again, take that with a grain of salt, these ranks, where it doesn't always matter. Thanks, Vanger, for subbing. It's a long time until Legion. Got to do something to kill raid time. Fair enough, right? But not every guild wants to spend time wiping on farm bosses just for ranks. Really, if you get a really high rank parse, like these Asians, does that mean your EP is that much bigger? Like in real life, do all the ladies like, oh, you got a rank 1 parse, so how nice? Whatever, whatever makes you happy. If these rankings are it, fine, who am I to judge? So, that is DPS rankings in a nutshell there. Did I get a missed message? Okay, one sec here. In terms of healing rankings, well, let's take a look at some guys cheesing healing rankings. Where's my little log here? Oh, it was actually this one. So this is Hellfire Assault. Okay, now this guy, this paladin here, 100th percentile of Holy Paladins. Well, how did he do that much healing? How is it possible? I can 2-heal Hellfire Assault, and there is no possible way I'm going to do this much HPS. If I 2-heal Hellfire Assault right now, right, this Hellfire Assault, I'm going to do, let's pull up one of my logs here. Which one's mine? Let's take a look at Hellfire Assault. How did I do in terms of HPS? My HPS was 47,000. I ranked 76th percentile, yeah, and we 3-healed that boss. So myself, Roshi, and Bran, plus Bran was running a lot of the crates. How is it this guy is generating so much? Well, remember, as healers, you only heal HP that is healed when people take damage, right? So and I show you guys this on stream all the time, if I'm standing in fire the entire time taking damage, dropping my HP lower and lower and lower, and therefore healing myself back up, the damage, goes down, and how much I have to heal goes up. However, if your raiders don't stand in shit, if they're, intelligent, if they're able to interrupt and do mechanics correctly, and minimize the amount of damage taken, there's nothing for me to heal. There is no friggin' way. So how is this guy doing it? Let's take a look at who he healed. Oh. So you can look at his breakdown here. Let's look at Easy's breakdown. And he's got a beacon on one guy, flash of lights on refs, and beacons on generated and Sonali. I see. So pretty much the entire encounter, he only healed warlocks. How does it even make sense? Afadis, thanks for resubbing. Let's take a look here. So he did grandly a little bit of damage here. What did they do? So how are these warlocks taking damage? If you look at damage taken, and look at these guys, can you guys see what these warlocks are doing to take damage? Burning Rush is right. Burning Rush. Burning Rush. Fellfire Volley. They're standing in shit on purpose in order to take damage. Right? Which is why this guy's healing is so high. So when you guys are evaluating your own logs compared to these guys, do not look at these top rankings because these ones are getting cheesed beyond belief. Don't compare yourself to these guys. Now, great point here by Ramen Noodles. At the same time, ranks don't matter, but that's after progression. Do people's progressions rankings matter? Yeah, for sure. Progression rankings matter. Progression rankings, what you're doing, that matters. Farm rankings, somebody bragging to me, on their application, hey, I ranked so-and-so boss on this fight. That's nice. How did you cheese the encounter? Like, nobody gives a shit about rankings afterwards. If you're doing really well on progression bosses, so when you're killing bosses the first time, that is good. But in general, your rankings don't matter. But yeah, there is instances like Ramen Noodles here says, when you're doing progression, when you're killing bosses for the first time, that's where it matters. Let's take a look at, who do they kill here? Let's take a look at Kilrog Deadeye, which is 0 to Heroes. They killed it a few times. How do they do for rankings here? Well, their rankings were okay, right? Why did Kelraz and these guys do such high rankings? Likely because those were the ones that were going inside divisions. So people that go inside divisions will have inflated numbers. If you're not going inside divisions phase, you will likely never, ever rank. Right? Because you're off there doing the important stuff, killing the bloodthirsters, killing the big guy, the berserkers, whatever, and killing the fell globules. That's that's more of the teamwork there. Good Kaya Warlocks helping Paladins rank. Pretty much, right? So again, these kind of rankings, these farm rankings don't matter. You would never do this in progression, right? Partly because you never have the item level on this boss. But if you're doing really well in terms of, mechanics, that's what matters. I can tell you which kind of rankings matter 100% of the time. It is your execution rankings. This is what is much more important to myself, my guild, and a lot of other top guilds. So I can pull up here the rankings here, and this is US rankings. Now we were like top 9, we dropped down a couple points here, but you can take a look at, Hellfire Assault, we ranked pretty high in terms of execution. Where's another one? Here at Kilrog Deadeye, we ranked really high in execution with a lower item level too, right? December 8th, 2-minute kill here. And what does execution mean? Well, it means we didn't take a lot of damage. We performed the mechanics correctly, people stayed alive, we killed the boss efficiently, quickly, and that's where your rankings, in my opinion, matter a lot more. And a lot of these guys, the Midwinters here, who else? TF, another strong guild here. These are, higher ranked guilds. So this is where your rankings matter a little bit more than just your EP rankings. How well is your team working together? How well are they doing mechanics correctly? Right? That's where it matters a little bit more. We cheesed the encounter. Well, Kilrog especially, yeah. We cheesed. You know how we cheesed it? Well, with lots of, blessing protections. Not really cheesing. We just, didn't stand in things. So how do you minimize damage on an encounter? How do you execute better? With good DPS, yes, you kill things quickly. The longer a fight goes on, the more damage goes out. If you're able to use your cooldowns effectively in your raid cooldowns, personal cooldowns, raid cooldowns, when unavoidable AoE damage goes out, that is less damage taken as well. If you use, good use of mechanics like multiple blessing protections, then yes, those are some easy ways. There's a couple more ranks here. There's another really good one. Let's take a look at healing. So here's another really good one. So same paladin. Now, obviously, I mean no disrespect to these guys. These are our quality players, but rankings rankings are rankings, especially on farm. Again, they don't mean a ton. Can check on EU? I can show you Kairos. Sure. This was just US. I can show you all regions. And you can see here that some of these guys are on EU. There's Bonanza, right? There's Danish Terrace. There's Scrub Busters. There's Bogaset Multiclass. Whatever that means. A lot of EU guilds, really high ranks there. So, I mean, that's solid. Solid ranks moves execution. If you kill Iron Reeve in 20 seconds with all those mages, do you rank 1 in execution because no one takes damage? Take a look at the logs. But in your progress, your cooldowns optimization, uptime on buffs is not optimal during farm. You can easily see if someone is good or not by looking at the logs and having high percentiles. Yeah, for sure, absolutely. I'm not disagreeing with you guys. For sure. But no, you do want to take a look at, the things outside of just logs, the context of what they're doing. Is somebody doing really high percentiles or rankings? Well, are they scumbagging on the ads, or should they be killing priority targets more? So somebody that ranks higher on an encounter is not necessarily better or doing better than somebody that ranks lower. Right? Where do you value a player? A player that can AoE ads really efficiently on something like Hellfire Assault, or somebody that can, manage your interrupts and stuns and use those other abilities much more effectively. Here, Ramen Noodle says, one of the biggest things I've learned in the guilds I've been in is during progression bosses, you may not top the boss. But if you're consistently alive because you do mechanics and survive, guilds care about that more than your damage. A dead DPS does no damage. Apparently, I say that all the time. And apparently, people are learning that. They can teach a monkey to do rotation, not saying it bad, it's something people need to do on their own. 100%. 100%. And you talk to those top guilds, and they will say the same thing, right? It's the mechanics, how quickly you learn the encounter, not so much about, the DPS straight up. People know how to do the rotation. You can teach a monkey to do a rotation. How well can you dodge that fire? How well can you make good decisions? That kind of stuff is valued a lot more. Are DPS actually using interrupts? He said, well, they hope so, right? How much DPS do you lose by interrupting? How many GCDs do you lose by interrupting? 0, because it's off your GCD, right? By somebody interrupting things. So, for example, a fight like Hellfire Assault, let's take a look at here. Okay, so here's a good one. Okay, this is Hellfire Assault that we killed at January 19th, so last week. Firemancer, 4 interrupts. How did he manage 4 interrupts? Boggles me, because he must have not been drunk. Sparty got 4 interrupts here, Altaris got 3, Bran got 3. Again, these are healers that are interrupting. By interrupting one of these spellcasters, I reduce the amount of damage going out, which means I will have less HP to heal because my raiders did not take damage because I interrupted something, which means my healing numbers are going to be a lot lower. So do healing rankings matter on progression? Right? Do they really? Yes and no. But you take a look at, what kind of composition do you have in terms of healers. If you're a healing group here, where's my other logs here? If you're a healing group that has a disc priest, for example, and this is something I can tell you guys all the time. If your healers are ranking really, really low, but your disc priest is ranking really high, their shielding or their absorbs are really effective. And so when people take damage, it eats away at the shield first before their HP. So if you're a Resto Druid and you're ranking really crappy compared to your disc priest, maybe your disc priest is really, really good, keeping those shields on your players. Maybe your players are really good at avoiding damage, which is much more valued than, just rankings. Perfect. I gain DPS by interrupting with my glyphs? Exactly. As a warrior, you do that. In Legion, Demon Hunters gain full fury by interrupting something, and that's awesome. They're going to be your interrupt masters. They want interrupt, and really, one thing, a quick little tangent here, I wish Blizzard would implement that for all classes, where if you interrupt, you gain some kind of bonus for doing the mechanics right. So, feels like that's too bad. But no, for sure, don't stand in the bad, right? It's how much damage you take from these things. Well, what about damage taken? The longer a fight goes on, the more damage you are going to take. A fight like Iron Reaver, take a look at Iron Reaver compared to our Iron Reaver. So this is their Iron Reaver. Let's pull up the blog here. How much damage did they take? They took... let's see here. 90.4 million damage. Is that right? Maybe. Doesn't seem right. So they took quite a bit of damage there compared to ours. Let's take a look at my summary here. Damage taken. We took 35 million damage. 35 million damage compared to 90. Are we just better raiders than Zeros to Heroes? Well, we have higher gear. Did we use our cooldowns better than Zeros to Heroes? Potentially, right? Maybe we used more cooldowns. But you know what the big thing is? Our fight was a lot shorter, meaning we just took less damage overall. That's it, right? Those fight durations matter a lot. So when you guys are looking up encounters, and you guys are comparing yourselves to another player, look at the players that are in the 90th percentiles, not the 100s. Because again, the 100s are completely cheesing it. Don't take a lot of like, hey, this guy's an awesome player. It's not something, that a lot of really good guilds value, did that cheesing stuff. I know of other guilds that, would wipe and wipe and wipe until a DPS got really godly RNG and could rank. Some guilds even did it at the cost of progression, where, let's say they're working on a certain boss, they're trying to kill a boss for the first time, but they're wasting hours trying to get ranks, because ranks matter so much. Ranks are not the be and end all of a good player. It's communication and situational awareness, and it's a whole slew of factors than just your healing or DPS rankings. So don't take too much into them. Another one, I got a message from Facebook on somebody that said, hey, my guild is, or what was it from Twitch? Somebody is or my guild leader or raid leader is comparing my rankings as a warlock to this other affliction warlock. And I compared the logs here on stream. I can't remember who it was. It was somebody while I was at work. And I took a look at the logs really quickly. It's a 20 item level difference, number one. Number two, the fight time was like 2 minutes shorter. Plus they used heroism at a different time. It was actually Hellfire Council. I'll take a look at Council here. So Council for Zeros to Heroes and Council for Death Jesters. Okay. So take a look at this one. Here, Zeros to Heroes actually beat us by 6 seconds on this encounter. They beat us by 6 seconds. That's awesome. Why did they beat me on by 6 seconds? Why did my guild lose to these scrubs, and I outgear these scrubs by at least 10 item levels, but they beat us by 6 seconds? Well, let's take a look why. Damage done. Did we hero at the same place? More or less, right? We got heroism a little bit later. These guys got heroism a little bit earlier, which means they were able to kill the encounter slightly earlier. But it's also how your Fel Rages line up, right? There's other external factors. So who got Fel Rage in this guild? Right? These scrubs. Who got Fel Rage? Well, likely Novan did. Let's take a look at buffs. I think it's under Fel Rage. What is it? What is the debuff called here? I think it's a debuff, actually. There you go, Fel Rage. Perfect. So they had 2 people got Fel Rage, Catlock and Adonanson. So their damage is going to be a lot higher. So in terms of ranking on this encounter, it'll be the guys that get Fel Rage. Those guys do a shit ton more damage to the boss there. And so Catlock got it. You guys can see here. Catlock got it during the heroism time. Lots and lots of damage on the boss there. What about ours? Let's take a look at debuffs. Who got Fel Rage during ours? So Shadowlurk and Idealize, but you see how these timers are slightly off because they were doing more damage. Our Heroism timer and Fel Rage timer did not fully line up. Well, why is my guild's damage lower than Zeros to Heroes? These damn scrubs. Let's find out. I mean, you look at the logs. Let's take a look here. Why am I doing so little damage? So they did 1.4 million DPS. Okay, my guild's doing 1.45, but still a lower fight. Okay, that explains it. Aeonin, one of our subs here, did 2,500 damage. Kargita did 714, and Catmage did 5 million here. We actually had 3 buyers on this encounter. So I had 3 players that, that were just off to the side. They were buying the kill for gear, for achievements, all that stuff. So I was down 3 players. I was down, 3 awesome DPSers, and that is why my numbers were so low. You take a look at, other rankings when you guys are doing progression. If somebody dies early, like Ramen Noodle said here, you do no damage when you're dead, right? How much damage do you do? 0. Right? Nice DPS bro, how's the floor? So there. There's always reasons why, certain things happen. I think we even, how many healers do we have? Yeah, we had 4 healers as well, which is pretty standard for this one. 20, thanks for resubbing. Tiska Yonan, that's okay. I was told to die? Well, of course, right? Of course you were told to die. And you know what? Where do your rankings... you didn't even get to get a rank here. You did so little damage, Aeonin and Kargita and well, not Catmage. But you did so little damage on this encounter that the log didn't even pick you up as a DPS. You just did no damage. like so little damage that you didn't even get to rank. You didn't even get to rank, you know, the lowest percentile. So we have 3 mages, remember? Because that major interview is watching. Oh no, we have whatever. Anyway, we do only have 2 mages in our guild. Yes, we only have 2 mages in our guild. So you have to take a look at the logs as to, you know, why things are happening. Don't just take them, you know, for face value. That's the biggest thing I'm trying to get across to you guys. Don't think you're a bad player because you are not ranking, you know, like these guys in these super high numbers. Right? You look at an encounter here. Let's take a look at. Let's go back to execution rankings. So again, these are execution rankings. But you take a look at player, let's say healing rankings. You know, healing rankings on an encounter, again, NZ from Entropy, really high numbers on Hellfire Assault. We took a look at that one as well. What about, Iron Reaver here? Why are his numbers so high? Well, how did this Shaman, of all people, do such high HPS numbers? 359,000. That's just insane. I'm guessing he's the only healer. Let's take a look. Oh, how about that? He's the only healer. Right? So that is why you don't take too much, you know, you don't really look at these at face value. But when you're doing progression, where is Zeros to Heroes? Just killed the boss. Let me look up Zeros to Heroes here. Zeros to Heroes on Storm Rage. Let's see how you guys ranked on your first kill. Elliot Markley was logging that one. Tyrant, right? They killed Tyrant for the first time this week. How did they do in terms of rankings? I haven't taken a look at these yet. So, Happy. Great damage there as a DPSer. I mean, a healer. Ryoku did pretty solid. This is what you want to see. This is, you're doing a good job on that encounter right here on your first kill. This is what you want to see. These things right here. Not so much the healers doing DPS, but Tolgor, Railross, Ryoku, you know, those are the things that you want to see from your players doing above average damage on that encounter on your first kill. Execution rankings, not that high. You know why? Let's take a look. And player deaths. You know, a bunch of these guys did die. So Thalcedon died to melee. They had taunt issues there too. Necrohunter, Flying Hunter, Adonisin. They cast Time Warp there. Not Creative, Ashtanga, their healer died. Kalraza died. Who got rezzed? So they rezzed, one player. They rezzed the tank, obviously. So these guys here, Adonis, Necrohunter, Flying Hunter, they died. How is their ranking going to be? Well, most of the damage, the big high damage is during this heroism right here in Phase 2, as well as in Phase 3 on Tyrant, because of how the encounter works, right? So let's take a look. Let's take a look at who was it? It was Adonisin, Flying Hunter, and Necrohunter. How do they rank? You see? This is why the rankings are slow, because they died. And what you want to do, well, you want to survive the encounter and do as much damage over the course of the entire fight. Why did they die? You can take a look at logs later on. But again, this Coach's Corner specifically on rankings, and why they happen. Again, if you want to rank really high on this encounter, I've got another one here. Oh, not on here. There was another really good one from this dude, from NZ on Tyrant. And I'll show you another way they do it here. So again, you had guys that are doing close to no damage, other guys that are doing the majority of the damage just for the rankings. This guy ranked second out of 10,000 Frosty Case. 10,000 Frosty Case, he ranked second. That's pretty damn good, right? But again, you look at how the damage is distributed, you look at the logs, and it's not super, super impressive. Where's this guy? Easy. Now another one is Tyrant. Take a look at this one. Was it this one? Maybe. How much was he pulling here? Healing rankings. There we go. So let's take a look at, so here's ranking super, super high, November 2nd. Again, this is just farm for these guys, right? Like, these guys are a high-ranking guild. They do stuff for rankings. Well, who did he heal? He flash healed a druid a lot and a shadow priest. Why? Can anybody guess as to why he healed this ferocious feral guy a lot? Is there a reason he would be healing that guy specifically? So Flash of Light almost non-stop on this guy, Beacon on himself, and a Shadow Priest. What are those guys doing, right? Del knows? Dell knows. Okay, Dell, settle down. Let's have the rest of the class guess. They stood in bad on purpose? Nope. That's not it. Good answer though. I mean, good answer. You take a look at how much people are moving, right? What damage are they taking? So let's take a look at not easy, but the priest. Ore of Oppression. Do you guys remember what Ore of Oppression is? What is that one? Ore of Oppression is the one that does what? Every time they move. So can you guess what the Shadow Priest was doing? Running around, right? Let's take a look here. I haven't taken a look at this, but I'm guessing it was he was healing the Shadow Priest, which was moving a lot. Where's this little Shadow Priest? This one right here. So they're going to pull the boss, and let's see what he... Oh. What are you doing, little Shadow Priest? What are you doing? What? It's funny because I haven't seen this. I didn't look at this pre-stream. So you can see here, the Shadow Priest is running around taking a shit ton of damage from Ore of Oppression. And the more damage you take, the more healing you do, right? So this is why he had a beacon on this player specifically. There, he got healed up a little bit, and you run around some more, and now letting strike. Look at him. Like Speedy Gonzalez here. Look at this. He's just running all over the place. Right? Mechanic, is that what you want to be doing? Well, obviously not, right? But again, don't take a lot into those healing rankings. Me pretty much. So what about the Druid, though? How did this guy, how did the Paladin do so much healing on the Druid? Does anybody know? Did anybody guess correctly here? 20% healing glyph. What glyph is that? What? He's got magic shoes. So this guy right here, did he take a lot of damage? Well, Ore of Oppression, he took a decent amount. Well, let's take a look at how everybody did from Ore of Oppression. Tyrant Valari. Ore of Oppression. Where are you, Aura? It was not under Aura. There. So you can take a look here. The Shadow Priest, obviously, or not a Shadow Priest, I guess he's a Holy Priest, took a ton of damage from the Aura. This little Druid here was also running around a decent amount, as were some of these other guys. But it was the glyph, right? Right? The glyph, exactly. So what the glyph does is, what, 20% more healing? Can somebody link it? Let me look up this glyph here. What is the glyph called? Glyph of cat form? Let me pull it up here. Glyph. Come on, Wallhead. So right here, let's take a look at this glyph. Increases healing done to you by 20% while in cat form. While in cat form. So this is the glyph. That's the glyph that he had running around in cat form. And what did the Paladin do? Well, he just Flash of Lighted him. Now, the little trick here... Sorry, that was Pure Owl? Tyrant Valari. Oh, wrong one. Which was looking at here. I guess the other one was... Let me take a look, one sec. Damage done. Pure Owl. Yeah, the cat here. So he was healing this cat, not the other one. Or I was looking at different logs as well. So yeah, he was healing Pure Owl, which, again, Flash of Light, that's the glyph. And now the thing with Tyrant is, even though you are over-healing that person, it still counts as healing. So the more, like the bigger bubbles you throw there, the more healing on him. So if I had a feral in my guild right now, we don't have any ferals? Yeah, I guess not. Healing a cat glyph, whatever glyph, spam heals on that person, and you do much, much higher. So, so yeah, it is the glyph that caused him to do, or to receive that much more healing, and that's exactly how this guy got super, super high ranks on that encounter. And I guess it was a different one too. Oh, that was Ferocious. Yeah, this was the other one. This was the other one where the healer, which was the same guy. Yeah, there we go, easy. He healed Ferocious, which was, again, a feral, that much more. Right? How much healing received? A ton. A ton of heals. I raided with Pure Owl and confirmed he wasn't doing that on purpose. He's just shit. That's fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for your contribution to this conversation. So beyond that, so I've shown you guys, why a lot of these damage rankings don't matter. Why they can be cheesed, like our fun little mages here. Sometimes you might have, again, a racial bonus to high damage. But yeah, this is why you will never rank. You guys will never, ever, ever rank in these high numbers unless you're in one of these guilds that really want to rank. Some guilds find this fun, totally fine. You know what? I'm not going to judge you. You do this if you want it. It's on farm. You do whatever the hell you want. The point of the stream is these average, these above average, these aspiring raiders, they look at these logs and say, hey, why am I never going to reach these rankings? And they don't have the full knowledge or the full experience with Warcraft logs like a lot of you guys do. Why is it bad for healers to DPS during progression? It's not. It's not deep. It's not bad. It's not. Sorry if I made it sound that way. In some cases, you do want healers to DPS, especially on progression. Every little bit counts. Even on mythic encounters, like our very first ones, when we killed Archimond, when we killed Garage, I'm DPSing a lot. Because of how my spec works, or because there's not a lot of healing to go around, that kind of stuff. But no, it's not bad for healers to DPS during progression, but you should be healing, right? So, how do the tanks do? We can take a look at how the tanks did on this guild here. And again, this is a high-ranked guild, Entropy on Frostmourne. You can pull up their WoW records to see exactly what they are. Let's see. Summary, rankings, how did their DK and stuff do? Where is tank survivability here? So how do they do in terms of tanking? Well, this little metric here, which is Kira's Resolve Weighted Survivability Index, is, it just sort of shows how you did roughly with your own personal cooldowns, with your active mitigation, with that kind of stuff. This encounter isn't great for it because of all the movement and like it's a really shitty encounter to tank, but this gives you a rough breakdown of how you did as a tank in terms of your survivability. Is it super, super accurate? Somewhat. But yeah, don't take too much emphasis into these rankings. Did anybody else have any questions before we wind down from this Coach's Corner? Nice quick one about rankings and logs and that kind of stuff here. No, I don't miss any messages there. Oh, yeah, and Dell says, the other way healers will rank is if you just life tap. So where was the other guy? So in one of these logs here, I think it was Easy's logs, you had warlocks that were just life tapping all day long, just life tapping. Was it any of these guys? No, it wasn't these guys. But in other ones, like that Hellfire Assault one that I showed you guys, let's go back to Easy's logs here. Really quick here. Okay, we'll just look at healing rankings. And, some of their warlocks, the warlocks would not rank, they wouldn't do anything. But these guys, they would just life tap all day long, Burning Rush, and run around. And so there would be a lot of damage for them to take. Being a tank is the most thankless job. There's many other more thankless jobs, but being a tank is one of them. People don't appreciate tanks enough. A good tank, God. A good tank, let me tell you, they're very hard to find. They're extremely, extremely hard to find. But an even better healer will carry that tank from a healing perspective. Anything else? Go through your guild's logs. I can always do that after stream, whenever we wind down Coach's Corner. Any other questions before we wind down and I turn this Coach's Corner off? And we can always look at logs post-show here in a second, Kyrix. But if you have any other specific questions as to logs, as to, rankings, what do guilds value, let me know. Is there a way to check Warcraft logs for certain dates? That way you can check before Valor or must be over 13 out of 13. Totally. If you take a look at rankings here, let's take a look at Sparty's rankings. How many Spartys are there? Apparently there's many copies of Sparty. So here are my rankings on Hellfire Assault. Right here are my rankings. And it is sorted by date. Every single kill I was in. And this also, compares you to what is it compared to today's date. Which means, overall, over the history of your percentiles. So you can see here, back in July, I had really low rankings, but my rankings went up higher and higher and higher and higher, partly due to us bringing less healers on that encounter. And right here, in the blue rankings, my guild did a really good job interrupting and dodging mechanics, which means my healing rankings were really low. Is there a ranking that is too low to happen regularly and DPS should just do better? What you should be seeing when you guys look at your rankings is you should be seeing a steady increase in terms of your own rankings because of gear, because of kill time, because of everything else. For the average, normal, heroic, mythic guild, You know, that's the majority of you guys. As long as you see your rankings increase, that is what you care about. As long as they're not decreasing, because that's bad. Here you see you know, increases. There's a really crappy rank from me here because luckily I died to something stupid. And then here we're bringing less healers, which is part of it too. If you're consistently ranking, you know, in the greens or the grays or something, you have to find out why. I mean, you don't have to, but you should find out why. Could it be your guild strat? Could it be that the other DPS are hogging all the things to kill and they're killing them before you? Could it be your rotation or whatever else? Yeah, totally. I'm looking at, sorry, DPS rankings. You're right. Healing rankings. My DPS got better, actually. Sorry. There. Same thing. Same thing, though. You know, you do want to see that steady increase. It's the same. Thanks for reminding. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's it. You see my healing rank is really low here in August, you know, July, again, doing mechanics right when we had much lower item levels. So. Anything else? Warrior tank meter? Yeah, there's a warrior tank meter as well. But no, Fang, right now, if your ranks are consistently really, really low, let me pull up a DPS here. Who can I pull up? I'll pick on one of my own guys here. Since Firemancer's here, let's pick on Firemancer, guys. Where are my logs here? Sorry, I had it on tab. It's easy. And all right, let's pick on Firemancer. Can't remember which fight he was in. Let's just pull him up. Firemancer, since he was here, apparently there's 3 Firemancers, only 1 on US. Who knew? So here's his logs. And again, here are his damage logs, not his healing logs, in case, you know, we get confused again. As Arcane, as Fire, he ran recently, as Fire January 5th, as Frost back in September 1st, but Arcane for the most part because there's a lot of standstill, right? Iron Reaver, how did he do? Consistently higher and higher damage, partly because of our kill times. You can see this week right here, so December 8th, looks like, was the first time he was in, and the first time, actually the second time, we started doing the speed kill, right? Which is under 2 minutes to get him before an air phase. We still have buyers for these ones. Let's take a look at his kill log numbers. So kill log numbers are good. There's who else can I choose here? Who else can I pick on? My legs are so shit. But no, these are, you know, the above average rankings that you consistently want, right? Like you want to have, you know, higher numbers and consistently improving and improving and improving. Here, he improved a ton. Here, he probably died early. Here, he probably died a bunch of times. I don't know. I mean, we could take a look at the logs exactly and see what happened. This is September 23rd. September 23rd. I guess it's this one here. 50th percentile. Let's pull up this one. That was kill log. Never mind. So I was looking at Iron Reaver for a second. But no, one of the reasons he's ranking really low on kill log is because we're not sending him down. Here he hasn't been in for a while, but here on our very first kills, the reason he's ranking so high is because we send him into the visions phase. So if we take a look at his higher percentage here, which is August 26th, back when this fight was a little bit more relevant for us, and you can see Sham, God, Natoro, and Firemancer. These guys would be the first guys going down into the Visions realm. They would come out with their own heroism, and then we would burn the boss. And that's why their rankings were so friggin' high. Because we specifically geared our strategy for our really, really strong DPS. This is how we could utilize our DPS a lot more. So if you're, you know, Miranda, and you're an Arcane Mage, and you're comparing yourself to, let's say, this log, should you? No, you shouldn't, because Firemancer went down. He had heroism. We used heroism twice here. They actually heroism in the Visions phase, and then we use in the second heroism again afterwards. So take a look here under debuffs. And where is it? Where's the little debuff here? Visions of Death. And you can see here, oh, Firemancer actually went down second. Okay, it was Schomburg and Bran. No, was it Bran? Which either went down? Roshi. Okay, so we sent Natoro, Roshi, and Schomburg down, which is why the ranks were so high. And then afterwards, it was Firemancer, Bran, and Ariana. And so they went down. When they came back up, they had a nice big DPS buff, and they got a second heroism. So the first heroism wasn't wasted on them, and that's how you would use 2 on that encounter. So again, take some rankings with a grain of salt. Do your, you know, do your fact checking first. You okay with going down? Cheers, Dawson. That's how you know your disc when your weekend soul is 100% wrapped up. Yeah, I mean, depends on the encounter for sure. Okay, I'll give you guys a quick post-show talk, but we're going to upload this to YouTube, and that'll be it for Coach's Corner. Thanks, guys, for watching, and hope you learned something.